Basketball. It's more than a game. It's a story of grit, competition, and passion. But somewhere along the way, things started to change. Players like Charles Barkley once asked, "Where's the love of the game?" Was it the rise of super teams, starting with LeBron's famous move to Miami? Or is it load management, where stars sit out games fans wait months to see? Even great stories from smaller markets, like the Cavs breaking records, barely make headlines. The focus? The same big teams, the same tired narratives. Today's stars seem to cry over every call. And the refs? They've gotten more sensitive too, calling things that barely mattered back then. So, has the NBA evolved or lost its soul? Let us know. What do you think makes basketball great? Basketball has evolved. Some say for the better, others aren't so sure. From the physical battles of the 90s to the star-driven, finesse-focused NBA of today, the league has transformed. But how did we get here? And have we lost something along the way? Over the decades, the NBA has grown into a global phenomenon, attracting fans from every corner of the world. But with growth comes change, and not all of it has been well received. The physicality of the past, the rise of super teams, load management, and neglect of small markets, each tells a piece of the story. So today, let's dive deeper into what's really changed in the NBA. Is the league better, worse, or just different? We'll explore its evolution and how these changes have reshaped the sport. In the 80s and 90s, basketball wasn't just a sport, it was war on the court. Teams like the Bad Boy Pistons built entire identities around physicality. Players took pride in their toughness, and fouls often meant delivering a message, not just stopping a play. Games were as much mental as they were physical. Opponents had to not only outplay their rivals, but endure the punishment that came with every possession. But now, even incidental contact can lead to ejections. The league's crackdown on physicality has its benefits: fewer injuries, longer careers, and higher-scoring games. Yet many fans argue it's come at the cost of the game's intensity and toughness. Charles Barkley summed it up best. Where's the love of the game? Have we traded heart and grit for flashy highlights and safer rules? Or is it simply the evolution of the sport? Super teams are nothing new. Think back to the Celtics' Big Three in the 80s, or the Lakers' dominance in the early 2000s. But LeBron's move to Miami in 2010 marked a turning point. It wasn't a team's front office building a dynasty, it was players deciding to team up. While super teams create buzz, they've also widened the gap between big and small markets. Fans of smaller teams ask, if stars keep teaming up in major cities, how can we ever compete? But there's still hope. Giannis staying loyal to Milwaukee proved that smaller markets can still shine. The challenge is making sure these stories don't get overshadowed. The real debate is this: does the rise of super teams make the league more exciting, or does it undermine the competitive balance that made past eras so great? Load management. It's a phrase that didn't even exist in the 90s. Back then, stars like Michael Jordan and Karl Malone played all 82 games because that's what was expected. Today, players are often sidelined to rest, even in marquee matchups. For fans, this can feel like a betrayal. Imagine traveling miles to see your favorite star, only to find out they're sitting out for load management. But the other side argues it's necessary to protect players and extend careers. Another shift? The hunger. Some argue today's players get too much recognition too early. Massive contracts and endorsement deals have replaced the prove-yourself mentality of past eras. Kobe and MJ treated every game like a battlefield. Are we losing that mentality? Or is it simply a different era where longevity matters more than the grind? Another concern? The NBA's focus on big markets. Teams like the Cavs or Thunder can achieve incredible feats, only to be overshadowed by headlines about the Lakers or Warriors. Small markets have their own stars, but they rarely get the spotlight they deserve. Imagine how much more dynamic the league could feel if every story, not just the big market ones, got the attention it deserved. Ultimately, the league's growth depends on telling every team's story, not just the familiar ones. Finally, there's officiating. Refs today is quicker to blow the whistle, and players are quicker to argue. In past eras, stars let their game do the talking. Today, every call can feel like a debate. Is this a reflection of a softer league? Or are players simply more vocal about their rights on the court? Either way, it's a stark contrast to how the game was played just 20 years ago. The NBA is constantly changing. From the gritty battles of the 90s to today's finesse-driven game, every era has its unique story. As the league evolves, so does our love for basketball, even if it looks a little different today. What do you think? Is today's NBA better, worse, or just different? Let's keep the conversation going.